Speaking of Game 7, the Rockets looking to complete a comeback from 3-1 down against the Warriors in Game 7 tonight in Houston. So let's go by the numbers. Fred VanVleet has been lights out from behind the arc, shooting 67% on three-pointers over the past 3 games. He's made 18 three-pointers, the most in a 3-game span in Rockets postseason history. And Steph Curry over the same span, not cooking, averaging just under 20, shooting below 40% from the field, including 1 for 7 in the fourth of Game 6. But the chef has stepped up in Game 7s in his career. Curry dropping 50 in his last Game 7 against the Kings in 2023, becoming the first player in NBA history to score 50 points in a 7th game. 13-year NBA vet Quentin Richardson and Anscape's senior writer David Dennis Jr. back with us. David, we got a young and hungry team here playing at home against some vets who have been there, done that. So what's going to be the key to win this win or go home game?
It's about the 2 best players, about Batman and Robin for the Warriors, about Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler. As you just mentioned, the Rockets have hounded Steph for the last 3 games or so, but we need that 50-point Steph Curry that we got in that Kings series a few years ago. And we need that same Jimmy Butler that went into Boston and won a Game 7 and almost won another Game 7 the year prior to that, because really the Warriors are running out of players. Pods, Buddy Hield, Gary Payton II have been negatives in these last couple of games. They're running out of options and people to make open threes. It's got to be Steph and Jimmy Butler taking over offensively, and Jimmy Butler taking over offensively and defensively for the Warriors to have a shot in this Game 7.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. On the flip side, David, man, the Rockets, they need Jalen Green. They need that 38-point game player that he was in, I think, Game 2. And listen, Şengün has been consistent. He's been the guy. He's been delivering for them and doing what he's supposed to do. But VanVleet, these last 3 games, he's been the difference maker. He's been averaging upward of like 27, 30 points, and he's been the guy that's been pushing and driving force for them, because Jalen Green hasn't been able to. But if they want to win this Game 7, they're going to need a big game out of Jalen Green, and they got to have the consistency they've been getting from Şengün and VanVleet.
All right, so the moment of truth over here. We got to pick this game. So, David, who wins?
Man, there's a very fine line between experience and old. I'm going to lean with experience on the Warriors. I hope that carries them and they don't go out there looking old in Game 7. I think with Jimmy, Steph, Draymond, they find a way to pull this thing out.
Yeah, I'm with Double D. I got to go with the Warriors here. I got to go with the experience, and there's no way I'm going to bet against that little light-skinned dude, number 30, right now in the Game 7.
I feel that, man. The Rockets are attempting to win their 3rd series when trailing 3-1. The game tips off at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. So for Game 7.
This young Rockets team showing some real poise on the road. In the game that could end their season, Curry turns it over. Green down the other end, throws it down.
The person who wants the ball more will get it. And right now, seems as if they want it more.
Butler throws it right to Şengün. Back to VanVleet. Puts up a 3. That's good. VanVleet's not hot. He's scalding right now.
This is shocking.
Rockets dominating here in the 4th. Disappointing night for Steph Curry.
Now, out of all times, it's win or go home. So it's on us to make sure we get it done.
Man, the stage is set. Experience versus youth. Game 7 tonight in Houston. Rockets 2.5-point favorites over the Warriors. You got the Eastern Conference. The Cavs host the Pacers in their 2nd round series. Cleveland favored by 7.5. Game 1 is a -500, of course, to win the series. So with that, we bring in ESPN Bet Aaron Dolan to dole us out some winners here. Let's start with the Rockets, the Warriors, Game 7. What do you like for playing in that?
I'm going to go under 205.5 and really buying into the Game 7 narrative of unders typically cashing. Now, it didn't happen yesterday in Clippers Denver, but the unders in Game 7s have cashed nearly over 60% of the time in the last 2 decades, also going 14-6 straight up since, of course, that happened since 2019. Now, in this series, we've seen the adjustment really come down from Game 1. It was 213.5 all the way down to now 205.5. I do believe this will be a slower paced game, so I'm going to go under 205.5. Also looking at Steph Curry to go over his par prop, which has come up from 37.5 to 38.5. He's averaging 33 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists in 5 Game 7s in his career. His par prop for this series is seen as low as 34.5, and now, of course, in this game as high as 38.5. because people are obviously relying on the experience of Steph Curry, and I'm buying into that as well. So I'll take him over his par prop and under for the game.
Okay, so then we go from a game 7.
Oh, look. Fred Van Vliet.
What?
Fred Van Vliet. Every time that name.
8 rebounds, 8 assists. Rockets win the game. They force game 7 in Houston tomorrow. Fred Van Vliet just continuing his hot stretch. Over his last 3 games, he's averaging nearly 27 points on 59% shooting and 67% on threes. Van Vliet, the first Rockets player with 25 or more points in consecutive games when facing elimination in the postseason since James Harden back in 2015. Let us say good morning to NBA analyst Quentin Richardson and senior Anscape writer David Dennis Jr. Q, let me start with you. The Warriors essentially waving the white flag in Game 5 to go for the win in Game 6 at home. That did not happen. Explain exactly what did happen down the stretch in Golden State last night.
Actually, it was something that we might not have expected from the veteran-laden Warriors, man. It seemed like everything began to go the Rockets' way. 50-50 balls, loose balls. Like you heard Draymond in the press conference say that the team that wants the ball more usually gets it, and you're not used to the Warriors not being that team. And last night, everything began to snowball. You see the turnovers, you see the loose balls, you see the 50-50 balls, and then Fred Van Vliet went crazy. And not only that, he had the 2 big men down inside outmatching and outworking the Warriors on the inside. So everything kind of went bad for them last night in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, and you mentioned you don't expect that from a veteran-laden team. David, you wanted to go?
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree there. I mean, that fourth quarter started off on the wrong foot with Gary Payton II fouling Fred Van Vliet 6 seconds into that quarter on a 3-point play, which sort of begs a larger question here. Is if Gary Payton II is really the guy to beat guarding Fred Van Vliet. We've seen him being cooked by this dude. And, you know, if you got Gary Payton out there, the things you want him to do are to play defense, and he's not scoring. They're leaving him wide open, and he's too small to get those rebounds. So, you know, he's sort of a net negative. The team overall is 7 for 23 in open threes last night, and the Rockets are leaving guys wide open, which is why, for me, I think that they should probably go to Moses Moody a little bit more to defend Fred Van Vliet. He was there at the beginning of the season when Van Vliet was struggling. He's got some length. He's 39% from 3, and he can crash those boards. I think that may be an adjustment that can help quell some of that Fred Van Vliet stuff, but this dude is on the heater right now.
Yeah, they need to do something to adjust. Listen to this. Van Vliet has 3 straight 25-point games. For the first time in his playoff career, he's made 18 three-pointers over that span, which is a franchise postseason record. That is just ridiculous. All right, Q, Steph, Draymond, Jimmy Butler combining to play in 9 Game 7s. That is 1 fewer than the entire Rockets team. Where are you putting your money, on Golden State's experience or Houston's momentum going into Game 7?
Listen, this is a tough one for me right here, Jay. I mean, I've been rolling with the Warriors' experience the last couple, and right now it hasn't yielded me anything. Right now, we all know that when you get to Game 7, everything kind of goes out the window. So I don't know if we should throw the experience out the window, because if Golden State goes and wins, everybody will say, well, the experience is what won it for them. But I don't know, man. I think right now I'm on the side of momentum, because the way that the Warriors haven't responded to the way that the Rockets have played against them the last couple games. And even though, like I just said, we can throw all of it out the window for Game 7, because Game 7 just comes down to that one singular game. Who shows up, who performs well, everything else goes out the window. So right now, I don't know who to pick. I got my hands in the air right now, but I can't. I simply can't go with the experience and the veteran stuff with the Warriors, because it hasn't shown up these last few games.
Yeah, I kind of don't know either, but I'm going to stand on business a little bit and go with the Warriors. I'm going to make a pick right now.
Okay.
And say the Warriors. And it is, yeah, I would do that. It's a little bit based on that experience that we're talking about. We know what Steph Curry can do. He's averaged 32.6, 7, and 6.5 in Game 7. And we saw what he did in the last Game 7 he had against the Kings, putting up a 50-burger. Jimmy Butler just went into Boston and won a Game 7 and almost won another one in the Game 7 against Boston. They have that experience, but they got to figure that big man lineup, Q, that you mentioned. They got to figure out that zone that kept them missing 15 of their first 16 shots in that fourth quarter. They got to figure out Steven Adams. He is a plus 53 while on the court. all of those things matter. I think the Warriors may need a third scorer to help, but I am leaning on playoff Jimmy, Game 7 Steph to pull this one out.
We will see. We will see. Game 7. Looking forward to it. Q, David, always a pleasure. Appreciate y'all.
You heard Steph Curry talking about the experience in Game 7. Warriors do have that on their side on Sunday. Their roster has a combined 19 games of Game 7 experience with Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler accounting for 14 of those games. Rockets have 10 games of experience with Jeff Green, the leader, with 4 games. Let's talk about it with Kendrick Perkins, who stuck around to join us here on SportsCenter. So, Perk, that defense that we saw in Game 5 from Houston shows up again in San Francisco. What makes this Rockets defensive attack so effective against the Warriors?
Well, one, they've been playing this way the entire season, not just this series. They defense travel. I don't care if it's in the Toyota Center, the Chase Center, the YMCA, whatever it is, they're going to bring that identity. And then when you have guys like Steven Adams coming in off the bench, who's imposing his will on the offensive glass, blocking shots, anchoring the defense. And then you have a championship leader, right, on a crucial game, on the road, closeout game, and Fred VanVleet that rise to the occasion. But he's also controlling the game.
Yeah.
In these last 3 games, Fred VanVleet actually been a better basketball player than Steph Curry, right? And so now, if you're the Warriors, where the hell you go from here?
Right.
Right? Like, do you go to Jonathan Kuminga stand after?
I don't know. I mean, they need some athleticism. It's clear they need some size. That's clear.
Yeah, but is his mind there? Right? And I think the worst thing that probably Steve Kerr could have done to him is, completely took him out of the rotation in the play-in tournament. Now, all of a sudden, you have a young fella who, by the way, averaged about 23 to 25 points against the Rockets in the regular season, now has zero confidence. Your back is against the wall. And I don't know if a 6'5", 6'6" Draymond Green is going to be able to anchor your defense when you got the Twin Towers, Steven Adams and Baby Jokic, Alfred Sengun is what I call them, down there putting in work the way that they are.
So is it going to take Steph Curry flurry for them to have any chance, or do you see something that Steve Kerr can put together between now and Game 7?
I don't see anything he could do, to be honest. He might go back and go into his toolbox. Do you go and you pull out an old head champion and Kevon Looney and hope that he can give you some quality minutes? But you're going back to the H-Town.
Yeah.
It's going to be rocking. They going to have Paul Wall. They going to have Bun B, Slim Thug, Lil Kiki. Everybody going to be in the
Southside.
Stan, everybody. I might go to the game, right? But this young team that already thrive off of defense and intensity, you don't know, imagine what that crowd is going to do for them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they definitely got their hands full. I would never count out Steph Curry and play off Jimmy.
Yep.
They definitely better get on that plane and strap their shoes up before they land in Houston come Sunday.
All right, so 2 Game 7s now to end out the first round.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take
got
it.
some action.
Hey, Perk, thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you, Steve.
29 tonight, and a Game 7 has been forced. Speaking of which, our coaches certainly think that Game 7 are the best words in sports, and you see Steve Kerr has won 3 of the 4 Game 7s in his career. Ime Udoka is 2-0 in those winner-take-all games. If the Rockets can pull it off, it'll become they've won a series when they've been down 3-1, which is the most in that scenario for any franchise. As for the Warriors, the only series they've lost when they were up 3-1, you remember it, the finals of 2016. Interesting trends heading into the game. Last 6 teams have forced a Game 7 after going up 3-1. Only one has won the series. That team is the 2023 Heat, who is led by Jimmy Butler. Kendrick Perkins standing by. And Perk, you just heard the conversation with Fred VanVleet. I have such an appreciation for that young man going back to the Wichita State days, famously has the draft party, doesn't get picked, and said, we're good. I'll be all right. And man, he's been a great pro wherever he's been. He was spectacular tonight, has been these last 3. What have you seen from him?
Well, you see, we're witnessing that championship leadership, Scott, all across the board. In a game like tonight, you have a young Rockets team going on the road, and all of a sudden, Fred, the floor general, the leader, sets the tone all across the board. 3rd game straight with 25 plus or more, but he's doing it and getting it done in all ways, right? We see the assists, we see the rebounds, but we also see him keeping his composure, which is rubbing off on the rest of the young guys to stay engaged and stay true to their identity. To their identity, and that's the defensive side of things, Scott. Tonight, the Warriors were horrible offensively because of the culture and the defensive intensity that the Rockets came out with, which was a huge win, man. A huge win all across the board. Great minutes from Thompson. Great minutes from Dylan Brooks. But Steven Adams was a force all across the board. Him and Şengün was punking them in the paint. I don't know if Golden State have an answer for it. And shout out to Ime Udoka for staying true to himself and playing that double big lineup. It was a beautiful thing to see.
I have to imagine, given who you were, your identity in this league, bringing that lunchbox and getting in the paint and doing all the dirty work. I mean, Adams, you heard Fred raving about what he brought. That's a season high in minutes. You said it, Perk. I don't know what answer Golden State invents between now and Sunday night for the Şengün Adams double big lineup. What do you do?
Pray. And look, I'm going to take
always every day.
Scott, I'm going to take a little credit here now. I actually raised Steven Adams as a rookie in Oklahoma City. But you think Steven Adams is worried about physicality?
No.
You know what Steven Adams, you know what he does in the offseason? He go back to New Zealand and he go hunting for wild hogs with no shoes, no socks on. This is nothing to him. You think he's scared of stepping up to the free throw line and making some shots? But man, just them being a force on the offensive glass. And Şengün, I can't say enough about him. I call him Baby Jokic, filling up the stat sheet all across the board. Draymond Green, the former defensive player of the year, a guy that was up for it this year, he needs to show up and show out and do something, because right now he's not helping Jimmy or Steph or the Golden State Warriors. And maybe, in my opinion, Steve Kerr may have dropped the ball a little bit by losing Jonathan Kuminga, by not playing them in the play-in tournament and not playing them in this series, because his athleticism and size is needed right now.
That's interesting. I wonder if you could just try to turn that light on for Game 7. It's a little too, seems like it's too late for this particular series. And I don't know if it's too late for Golden State, Perk. And I mean, I would never just dismiss who they have and what they've done as a group. But you look at that Game 5, Perk, right, where Houston jumps them early, up like 40-something to 24 in the first quarter. And at that point, if you're Golden State, you knew you had Game 6 in your back pocket. We can go home. We can get that. Well, now they don't have that. Now they've got to rally. I don't know how they do it. This feels like a Houston team that's about to punch a ticket to make it to the semis. Do you see the same thing?
I'm feeling the same energy as you, Scott. And you're right. That Game 5, what it did was it gave the Rockets confidence, especially the young fellas. You got to think, Tari Eason, he wasn't shooting the ball well. Thompson twin wasn't shooting the ball well. All of a sudden in Game 5, they started knocking down shots. They started getting their swag. And all of a sudden, they're comfortable coming into your house, which we saw this tonight. They're like, hold on. So we could attack y'all and y'all not going to impose y'all will and not bring the physicality? I just don't know what else Golden State could do. Maybe Steve Kerr make an adjustment and try to bring in an old vet, a champion, in Kevon Looney. And I don't even know if that's going to cut the mustard at this point.
You got to give Houston the credit that they earned. It's a 2-point game in the fourth quarter in a building that can be great. And man, it was dead quiet those last 5 or 6 minutes because Van Vliet, Adams, Şengün, that whole group led by Udoka setting the tone. I'm with you, Perk. Stunning is not the right word because this is a 2 seed for a reason. But I don't think a lot of people saw this one coming. I appreciate you, Perk. We'll carry on next week with whoever comes out of this one. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Players all over the league, are just taking shots at guys, shooting hands, after release because they know it's not going to be a foul. And I'm very confident that next year the league will fix it because it's only a matter of time before somebody, breaks a thumb or breaks a hand or whatever. But these are the rules.
If you're gonna come play the game injured or whenever you got, it's all about the game. If I had an injured ankle, I would attack that ankle every single time. So whatever they're saying on the broadcast, they can keep saying it.
I don't.
Do you like, love, or hate Dylan's comments?
I love it. I mean, it's basketball. First off, look, Stephen A. and I are supposed to play a one-on-one game. I heard him talk about his elbows hurting.
I know.
I'm attacking the elbows then.
I know.
No, last year was the shoulder. I'm attacking the shoulder. Whenever you hear about weaknesses that people have, you go at that. And with Steph Curry, KP, excuse me if I'm wrong on this, but it's always been in the game of basketball. I don't know how you play, but I would assume where you're from, we play similarly. If your hand is hurt, I'm breaking down on the ball. I'm sorry. Hand is part of the ball.
Dub Nation, last night's game was filled with mixed emotions for Golden State Warriors fans. The team delivered a crushing 148-106 victory over the San Antonio Spurs, a performance that sparkled on both ends of the floor. However, the dominant win was shadowed by concern over Jonathan Kuminga, who re-injured his right ankle, the same one that previously kept him sidelined for 31 games this season. The timing couldn't be worse. With the playoffs fast approaching, the need for a healthy, complete roster is more urgent than ever. Kuminga went down in the second quarter after an aggressive drive ended in an awkward fall. Initial fears pointed to a potential tailbone injury, reminiscent of Stephen Curry's injury in 2021, but tests later confirmed a new ankle sprain. He'll be re-evaluated tomorrow to determine the severity. Fans are understandably anxious. Kuminga has become a vital part of the Warriors' identity, especially in transition defense and versatile matchups. His presence impacts both ends of the floor, and his absence would significantly affect the playoff push. Despite the injury scare, Golden State delivered its most explosive performance of the season, notching a season high in points and setting team records with 42 assists, 17 steals, and 34 fast break points. Rookie standout Brandon Podziemski was electric, knocking down 7 of 9 from 3, while Moses Moody finally broke out of his slump, going 7 of 11 overall and 3 of 6 from beyond the arc. The defense was suffocating. San Antonio was held to just 17 points in the second quarter. Jimmy Butler, criticized for a slow start in the previous game against the Pelicans, silenced doubters with an energetic and physical showing. He opened with steals and emphatic dunks and went a perfect 4 for 4 from the free throw line, a welcome improvement given his recent struggles. With the game well in hand, Steve Kerr rotated in bench players. Kevin Knox, Pat Spencer, and Trace Jackson-Davis all shined in the fourth quarter. Jackson-Davis, in particular, drew praise for his athleticism and paint presence, reigniting fan calls for more minutes. The victory keeps Golden State firmly in 6th place in the Western Conference, avoiding the dreaded play-in zone. For now. With the Clippers slumping and Memphis in disarray following their coaches firing, every remaining matchup becomes critical. The next showdown against the Grizzlies may determine playoff seeding. As for Kuminga, the injury couldn't have come at a worse time. Despite some up-and-down moments, he has provided explosiveness, versatility, and defensive depth, elements that have been missed during his previous absence. His return had bolstered the lineup, and another injury now would be a major setback. With only 8 games left, the margin for error is razor-thin. Meanwhile, Stephen Curry continues to play at an MVP level, and the team seems to have rediscovered its identity. The hope is that this late-season surge will be enough to clinch a direct playoff spot and avoid the uncertainty of the play-in. But beyond the short term, a big question looms. Should the Warriors offer Kuminga a max contract? If they don't, will they be willing to match an offer from another team? It's a tough decision. On one hand, Kuminga is a rare two-way talent still developing. On the other, salary cap flexibility is limited. One reasonable compromise might be a 5-year deal worth $150 million, securing his future without locking the team into a cap-straining contract. There are arguments for both sides. Some believe in letting the market dictate his value. Others say he's already shown enough to warrant a long-term commitment. What do you think? Should the Warriors go all in? As the postseason approaches, Golden State must stay locked in. This win is just the start. There's still hope the team will add a rim-protecting big man, with intriguing names available in free agency. The front office continues to monitor the trade market, aiming to maximize Curry's remaining prime years. The off-season is shaping up to be one of the most important in recent memory. Whether the organization pushes for one last championship or begins financial restructuring, the decisions made in the coming months will chart the franchise's direction. Mike Dunleavy Jr. and the front office are at a crossroads. Fans everywhere are eager to see what moves come next as the anticipation builds. In conclusion, while the Warriors' future holds uncertainty, One thing is clear. The team still has the pieces to compete at a high level if they can stay healthy and make smart decisions. Whether through trades, signings, or internal development, Golden State is positioned to remain a formidable force in the NBA.
Stay locked in. There's more to come.